everybody, and welcome to another brand new edition of T Watches a Scary Movie. My name is T, and of course, we are talking scary movies. I appreciate all of you taking the time to join me again this Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. when the episode is premiering, or by chance, any other time you might be listening if this is after the premiere. New episodes are going to go up every Wednesday night on our YouTube page, which you can get to by going to youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, that is youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. New episodes go up every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page. You want to get subscribed. That's your best way getting all the updates for when the episodes are up, and any other videos that we put up as well too. As you might have noticed, this is an audio only episode, folks. Unfortunately, when the day job is just taking a little bit more time, I just don't have the time available to edit video episodes here, so we do an audio only one in that case. I promise we will get back to video one sooner than later, but we got to do this just for now the way that it is. So again, I do appreciate you tuning in. Remember, good thing about this just being audio is you can turn it on and go about doing whatever you're going to do in the first place. In addition to that, you know we got our great watch parties. We typically do 2 a week. We have one that has us watching a movie that we talked about in the new episode. Then we have another one to where we're usually watching some scary TV shows. We actually just did our scary TV one last night. We watched Hannibal, Black Mirror, Dexter, Them, and Tales from the Crypt. You don't want to miss that. It's a lot of fun. We watch old commercials and music videos with it as well, too. It is so much fun to have everybody there, and you never know what you might get out of it. My good friends Natalie and Eric, for example, managed to tune in when we watched all 8 Saw films, and they both won a couple of free tickets to see Spiral, or dinner, depending on what they've done, because I know Eric went and saw it. I don't know if Natalie saw it yet, but either way, they got 2 free tickets or a dinner on me. So you never know what tuning in is going to get you. Tonight, though, we are definitely going to be talking Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead and Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. I'm excited to talk about it. And honestly, ever since Justice League, I just feel every film needs to be Zack Snyder's this. Like, let's just do that. Fuck coming back to it there. You know, we had Zack Snyder's Justice League. We had Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman. Zack Snyder's Legends of the Guardians. Like, that's how those movies honestly need to be named. So no different with these zombie ones here. But our watch party right after the episode, we're going to be watching Army of the Dead. It's really exciting to be able to have new movies to watch with y'all, not watch something older here. This movie just came out a week and a half ago. It's on Netflix. We are going to watch it. And if you want to be alerted to all the watch parties we're doing, along with a lot of really good movie news, in case you haven't noticed, we've had a lot of big movie news over the last couple weeks, and it's been fun to talk to y'all about this in the Facebook group. To get there, you got to go to facebook.com/groups/T-Scary-Movie. Again, that's facebook.com/group/T-Scary-Movie. Yeah, if you go and get into our Facebook group, again, you're going to get the links for all the watch parties that we do. If we give out giveaways, you'll have the info on that. And you get a chance to congregate with me and other members of the group. We have some great conversations about a lot of horror-related stuff. We've been talking a lot of new movies announced lately, reboots, sequels, all that kind of stuff. It's always a great time. So get to the Facebook page if you want that information for yourself as well. So this recently, Army of the Dead got released. Now, if you hadn't heard about this film, I don't know what planet you're on. This is big for Netflix because this is one of their only attempts to actually put one of their films out in theaters before it comes to the platform itself. The movie actually was released back on May 21st, I believe, is when it was released. I thought it was earlier than that, but obviously I can't back that up. I don't have that pulled up at the moment here. But the movie was released on May 21st, and Netflix actually put it out in theaters beforehand because they wanted people to have a chance to go and actually see it, make a little bit of money. So it released actually May 14th in theaters, and then it hit Netflix May 21st. And it's notable because Netflix really, really doesn't do that too often, honestly. And this is them trying it out, and it seems like they had a little bit of success. And I'm excited to talk about these films because Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's 2004 amazing, amazing horror film. Such a good movie. Have so many fond memories of it, and I had always wanted a sequel. And we have been led down the wrong path numerous times with it. For those of y'all that don't follow, they actually did make technically a follow-up called Day of the Dead. Nobody was involved except for Ving Rhames, and that led to the theory that it was a sequel. It wasn't. It was terrible. Had Nick Cannon in it. It's a pretty bad film. But Army of the Dead was being designed as a follow-up to Dawn of the Dead back then, due to a number of reasons, most notably being the budget. Basically, Dawn of the Dead, the sequel, Army of the Dead there, got canceled, got shelved, and it wasn't going to happen until Netflix took some interest, and especially after Zack Snyder's Justice League, they were jumping at a deal like this, and now we have Army of the Dead. So why wait? Let's get right into it. Let's talk about Army of the Dead here. So, the story is a simple one. After attempting to transport a zombie from Area 51 to a new safe location, of course, the zombie escapes on the outskirts of Las Vegas and then proceeds to decimate the town by killing and turning its population. As we see in a very badass intro, our team of mercenaries and soldiers, led by Dave Bautista Scott Ward, are tasked with getting back into Vegas, which has now been quarantined with all the zombie virus. So keep in mind, this is kind of different. What we're typically used to in a lot of bigger zombie films, that it's all around the world already. Like, there is no, oh, it's only here for now, it's going to break out. Like, it's already all around the world. And Army of the Dead leaves us with the idea that the only place that has any kind of zombies is Las Vegas. And that's interesting because it also brings us back to a plot point that we don't really get to follow up on later in the film, but I'm sure is going to be explored in the recently announced projects a little bit here. If you recall, like I just said, the military is transporting a zombie from Area 51. And we kind of gloss over that because, especially in recent years, we've learned through conspiracy theories and stuff like that, that it's not like aliens are the only thing at Area 51. Yeah, we used to think it was all aliens, but now there's a lot of theories. It could be a lot of other stuff. But we kind of toss it out of our minds there because, like, all right, it's a zombie. Of course it's a zombie. They're doing aliens and zombies at Area 51. But based on what we learn about the zombies in this film, there's actually a possibility that these zombies are zombie aliens. That somehow this is something that came from an alien race and has infected the Earth, hence why it's only happening in Vegas. I know, kind of crazy to think about. And that's where we can also talk about something special in this film as well, too. This movie, and I've said this about a lot of ones, but this movie is very much so a like it or hate it kind of movie. Dawn of the Dead, I honestly feel anybody that doesn't enjoy that film is kind of batshit crazy. That movie is so much fun. And even if you can't get down with running zombies, I think it has everything you could honestly want in a zombie film. You know, it's suspenseful, it's scary, it's gory, it's got great characters. It has all this fun stuff in it that I absolutely love. But as the years have gone by, we've also gotten other zombie films that other people haven't really taken as well. And specifically, the one I want to call out here is Land of the Dead. Now, I love Land of the Dead. I absolutely do. It was George Romero's last big theatrical release of one of his zombie films now, because he did still have a few that follow that up, including Diary of the Dead, and I believe Survival of the Dead is the other one. But either way here, the idea that Land of the Dead dealt with evolving zombies, all right? Zombies have been around, so of course, at some point, they have to evolve themselves. You can't just have something out there living and it doesn't, learn. It doesn't get smarter from it. That just wouldn't make a lot of sense at all, okay? And Army of the Dead kind of picks up with that. The idea being that zombies don't just come in the classic variety. Now, I'm going to talk in regards to The Walking Dead because a lot of you might understand it. If you remember, they call zombies in The Walking Dead walkers because the idea is they can't run. They don't really think they're working under like kind of a herd mentality and everything like that. But they're basically like the zombies of old. They eat flesh, shoot them in the head. That's all you got to do. That's it. Land of the Dead, again, implied that zombies could start thinking, they could communicate rather crudely, but they could still communicate at that point, and that's where the whole idea of zombies was eventually going. Army of the Dead splits the zombies up into two categories. First, you have Shamblers, which are walkers. We're going to leave it simple like that. Shamblers are walkers. They don't really think that well. They are very slow. You can dispatch them very easily, but if you get more than a few of them together, you might have an issue or two there, okay? Makes a lot of sense. But then there are also what's known as alphas. Now, as we see in the beginning of the film, the original alpha is basically what causes the zombie virus to expand out into Las Vegas. The rule goes, if an alpha bites you, you also become an alpha. You have heightened intelligence, you have heightened agility, you're faster, you can jump, all that kind of stuff, better strength, all that kind of stuff is there. Okay? Alphas are not your typical zombies at all. But the the side effect here is that only the first alpha can make other alphas. Anybody else that the alpha has bitten, if those alphas bite somebody, they make shamblers. Okay? So that's the way this evolution works. The first alpha can make other alphas, but the other alphas can only make shamblers. And that's going to be hard for a lot of people because what we end up seeing throughout this film is that there is a bit of a class system even set up with the zombies here, okay? Some of them get to live and roam around in the casinos and everything like that, and they're actually in some kind of tribe where certain people get to bite certain victims and stuff like that, but they really are living as if they were a society. Where the Shamblers, as we learn very quickly, have all, for the most part, died out, all right? Unless they're hibernating inside the casinos or anything like that, most of the Shamblers have died or gone to nothing in the hot Vegas sun. And we'll come back around to those zombies a little bit later on. As for our cast of mercenaries and soldiers, what we learn is that after that great opening, really, really great opening, by the way, that sets up how good these guys are at killing zombies and everything. We then see that their lives have taken a turn for the shit after this has all happened. They got the very important person out of Las Vegas, and there were no parades, there was no money or anything like that. They all went to live pretty meaningless lives. And a casino owner shows up to the leader here, played by Batista, Scott Ward. Shows up and offers him a chance to kind of get something out of things. Go back into Vegas, break into my casino's vault, and bring back $200 million. I'm already insured for it, so I already have that $2 million back already. But if you bring that $2 million back here, or 200 million back. I know I said 2 million, but 200 million back. Then I'm going to give you a cut that you are free to use however you want amongst your team. And that's where we go. It becomes a heist film to where Scott Ward has to gather up his old friends as well as some new friends to infiltrate Las Vegas, break into this casino owner's casino's vault, and get this money back out of Las Vegas. All before the military nukes the shit out of Las Vegas to contain the zombie virus. Now, there are a lot of parallels to other movies you can pick up. For example, Ocean's 11, breaking into a Vegas vault, stealing some cash. It's hard to not see the parallels with the Ocean's 11 series. Then you got things like Return of the Living Dead, where we dealt with zombies who could run and jump and talk and communicate and everything, and that made them a little bit more on the scarier side. So it's not like these guys can just walk in and get away with things. They're unaware about the existence of alphas. So they're definitely not as prepared as they definitely should be for it. And that's where the fun comes in. We have seen this in a few zombie movies here and there, to where it's not like it's a group of people who don't know what the fuck they're doing and that they're going to easily get massacred. But Army of the Dead makes it clear that the majority of these characters have dealt with zombies before. They should be able to take care of themselves, and that's actually what adds a little bit of the tension and the suspense in this film, is that clearly when we find out they're outmatched and that this is not going to be as easy as as it seems like it's going to be, what happens to the rest of this crew? And everybody plays a role. Everybody's got different parts in this. Of course, Dave Bautista is the leader of this ragtag group of individuals, and in the meantime, he's trying to rebuild a relationship with his estranged daughter, as well as a former love interest that's working with him on this mission. We have his second in command, who basically, after dealing with the zombie virus initially, is trying to find out what's right for his life. And when called back in, having a few million makes that easier to do for sure. There's Dieter, our safecracker, who provides a lot of the comedy in the film itself, who one of our spin-offs, Army of Thieves, which is a prequel to this, is actually centered around Dieter. So if you like that character, you're going to get a lot more with it. The cast is well-rounded in this film. There are a few stereotypical characters where you know exactly what they're there for and what's ultimately going to happen. Like, I think you can easily pinpoint who's there to be a little bit of cannon fodder. But what is interesting about this film is the way they really handle deaths. Usually in zombie films, we're going to get a character dying like every 15 to 20 minutes, basically, all right? We get a crew of people together, and undoubtedly they're going to slowly start to die out. Army of the Dead actually kind of circumvents that to where really only one character of this ragtag group of individuals dies earlier on, and then we don't really see any other deaths until actually they all start dying one after another. And I hate to throw that out there because it's a bit of a spoiler, but yeah, they kill a lot of people in this film. For sure, they kill a lot of the cast. And they do it sometimes so unapologetically, you don't really get a chance to mourn because we're moving right on to the next thing, to the next character at that point. So that was something interesting I found about the way they dispatch characters in it. With that, though, all of it is fairly believable. The relationships that get built in this film are a lot of fun to watch develop. And then ultimately, the way some of these characters get their what am I looking for? Get their redemption is rather cool as well, too. Dawn of the Dead that we're going to talk about deals a lot with redemption as well. And it's kind of like Zack Snyder carried the same theme here, that a lot of these characters are coming from just bad backgrounds, even just from dealing with the original zombie outbreak, that they're looking to make up for. That a lot of bad shit happened, that they ultimately want to try to right the course of those things. And I like that a lot because you can feel it, especially in somebody like Bautista. Bautista doesn't get a lot of chances to do roles like this, I feel, because you might think, oh, it's just a big action role. And there's definitely a good chunk of that in there. But his character is played almost to dramatic effect over being your typical action hero. And I thought he got to show a lot more of his acting chops in this than he really has before, at least in the stuff I've seen him in. If I had to compare it to a role Bautista's done, I'd probably say Blade Runner 2049. Granted, that only amounted to being like an extended cameo. He's only in the beginning of the film and that's it. But his character being so soft-spoken and then turning on a dime to being this crazy dangerous replicant is kind of the same idea of Scott in this film, is that he's very soft-spoken. He's trying to make things work with his daughter and a former love interest. And, you know, on a drop of a dime, he has to be ready to kill a bunch of things. And it's really great work coming out of Bautista. But the cast as a whole does a tremendous job in this film. There were certain people in the cast I just wasn't enjoying earlier on. And as the film kept going, it's like, oh, okay, I like you. You're good. You're actually good here. You're good at what you do. And it builds on you. That's one thing I definitely noticed about it. And it's interesting. I'm sure a lot of you have heard a lot of negative things about this movie. And all I would say is that the zombies themselves and the way they set up the class system with the zombies is really going to be very what's the word I'm looking for? Polarizing. It's going to be very polarizing to a lot of you for sure. Because even though there are a lot of big action set pieces in this film, it doesn't come off like your traditional zombie movie. In our watch party last night, we were watching a bunch of TV shows. Somebody was mentioning that World War Z. World War Z is a fucking terrible zombie movie because it's not a zombie movie. If you read the book, and I don't want to be that asshole who's like, oh, the book's better, but the book was absolutely better than that piece of shit film that came out. But it's simple. Zombie movies are usually defined by, look, they're dead, they come back with a craving for human flesh, and you have to shoot them in the head. End of story. Army of the Dead mostly follows that, but it's not as heavy on the flesh eating, I found, as I wanted it to be. It's definitely more than World War Z did, because remember, the zombies, I so don't want to call them that, the zombies in World War Z, after they bit you, they were done. That was the end of it at that point. And I always thought that was fucking stupid. The zombies in this, they do eat people for sure, but it's only kind of barely above what happens in World War Z. They implied that the Shamblers are really the ones that do that. The Alphas don't do that so much. And I guess that's a reason why I didn't hate this as much here, because they make it very clear that's not really what the Alphas do. The Alphas are there to turn people, they're there to kill people, but the Shamblers are really the one that are there eating everybody else. And that goes into other things like zombie animals. This was very interesting to see a franchise embrace the idea that zombies are actually interested in animals, because they probably tried to kill, as you've seen in the trailer, the zombie tiger. They probably tried to eat the tiger. Tiger came back as a zombie. And that's not something we've really seen a lot before. It's pretty fun. The tiger's pretty fun. And yeah, there's a pretty intense scene with the tiger absolutely decimating one of our characters as well too. It's so fucking good. But it is interesting to see zombies approach the way that they are in this film. But there's so much good character work. The action pieces involving one of the only characters who dies earlier on in the film is amazing. I would like to see how this universe expands, honestly. I really, really would, because there's a lot of really good concepts that is brought up in this. I'm still very interested to see, are these zombies aliens? Are they robots? You know, what's separating them from the zombies that we know? Those are the kind of things that I do want to see. But I won't lie. The Alphas I wasn't completely on board with. At a lot of times it just kind of felt like a nuisance more than anything else, especially because the main Alpha, who I believe is Zeus, is the character's name. I don't know. It's almost like they put more into the Queen as opposed to Zeus, which isn't a problem. The Queen definitely seems way more interesting than Zeus is. But I don't know. I didn't dig the Alphas too much, honestly, but it wasn't enough to hurt my opinion of the film. I think a lot of people right now are just very wary of Zack Snyder. I enjoyed Zack Snyder's Justice League. I thought it was really fun. I thought it made up for the original Justice League film that was released, but I get it. I think in the last 5 or 6 years, folks have been pushed so hard into everything he's been doing with DC and Warner Brothers that they weren't willing to give a chance to another zombie film that he was doing, even after Dawn of the Dead. So I can understand that, but I think a lot of people are missing out, because there is a lot to love in this film, honestly. I'm not saying it's even close to one of the best zombie movies I've seen. It's not. I have plenty of others I would rank above this, but it's definitely not even close to one of the worst ones I've seen, and there are a lot of those. I'm excited to check this one out with you tonight, folks. I'll give a few more of my thoughts if you're in the watch party, but if you're not checking it with us, get on Netflix, watch Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. It is a lot of fun, and the great thing is that you're going to have more stuff to go with it, because remember, the prequel movie, Army of Thieves, that's going to be focused around the character of Dieter, that's probably going to hit later this year. The film's already shot. It's ready to go. So we're probably going to see that later this year, honestly. I would think around October or so. And they are currently in production of a prequel animated series that's going to focus on Batista's character, Scott Ward, and the rest of his friends kind of in the early days of the zombie virus as well, too. Gonna be fun. It sucks that it's animated, because I think I'd like to see another film with all these characters there in it. But I'll take what I can get. They're all coming back to voice these characters, so that might be enough for me. But check it out, Army of the Dead. And that brings us to the 2004 reimagining of Dawn of the Dead. So, Dawn of the Dead, George Romero's classic film, is in its name itself, it's a classic, honestly. It's usually discussed as the best of Romero's original trilogy, which is Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. Now, I've always argued that Day of the Dead is better. I like a lot of the concepts in Day of the Dead more than I do Dawn of the Dead, but that's not to disparage Dawn. Dawn is an incredible, incredible film. There is a lot of commentary in that about consumerism and everything, and about our addictions to luxuries in life and stuff like that. It's a great movie with a very, very interesting method. Whereas the reimagining of it was looking to speed things up a little bit. There's still a good message about redemption in Dawn of the Dead for a lot of these characters. But the idea there is that, look, old zombie movies, if you've seen them, and really zombie movies up until the 90s, with the exception of the amazing Return of the Living Dead, are really about these shambling, walking zombies who, they seem dangerous because you get 100 or 1,000 of them together and they can push shit in. But if you were to go out in a field and encounter these things, you could really get by them without any issues. They don't pose that much of a threat. And I think that once we kind of hit the new millennium, a lot of writers and directors thought about that too and said, look, this is kind of bullshit. Like, if you were to get a team of, like, a military team together to deal with these kind of zombies, there's a good chance they would be perfectly fine. It wouldn't be as bad as all these other movies trying to make it out to be like, oh my god, we're fucked, there's too many. Like, nah, I don't think that would happen. And after the new millennium, I think a lot of writers and directors said, yeah, as unrealistic as a zombie is, it's literally a dead creature brought back to life to eat the flesh of humans, it's more unrealistic that zombies like these could cause problems, so fuck it. Let's let them run. Let's let them actually be dangerous. And we get movies like 2004 Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. We get movies like Danny Boyle's 2002 fantastic 28 Days Later, which is not a zombie film, but it's a zombie-esque film because the infected don't eat people in 28 days or 28 weeks later. They're like zombies, though. I get it. They're infected by a virus. Whatever. But we start getting films like that. And that's definitely what set Dawn of the Dead apart, was that these are zombies that are actually dangerous, okay? Sure, they might still be out in fields and shit like that, but one zombie in Dawn of the Dead is enough to end your fucking life because that thing can run, it can jump, it's agile, it's dangerous, all right? These things are actual hunters at that point. And the story of Dawn of the Dead takes a bit of a different turn from the original film. The original film was about a group of survivors who happen upon each other in an attempt to find a safe place, stumble upon a mall, and then look to basically make that their life. That they're going to live in that mall, and that's what they have to look forward to for the rest of their lives. Whereas the remake here, it does focus on a ragtag group of survivors who are all brought together, but the idea in this case is that the mall is just more so happenstance. It's a lucky break for them, but they never feel like they're trying to stay there. And I think that's one of the biggest things that sets the remake apart from the original film, is that in the original movie, I don't think we get any kind of idea or feeling that these people are trying to leave this mall and look for something else. Towards the end of the film, it definitely gets that way after a number of deaths and a number of bad fortune has overcome them, but we feel like they're looking to just set up shop for forever in that mall. Whereas here in Dawn of the Dead, it's like there's a time clock. Like, basically, our characters seemingly know that at some point this is all going to fall to shit and that this is not any kind of permanent living situation for them. Part of that is those buses that they build that clearly shows they don't think they can stay here forever. And I like that because it adds a much different feeling. Like when we see them kind of frolicking in the mall, which is a very, very, very small scene, to the point to where we get through that whole thing and Richard Cheese is down with the sickness, which is a great connection from Army of the Dead to Dawn of the Dead, because I'm sure everybody remembers Richard Cheese is down with the sickness. Come on, get up. You know you're down with the sickness. You fucker, get up. Come on, get down with the sickness. You know that version. It's iconic. It's great. It's better than the original version. I don't care what anybody has to say. It is better than the original version because of how fun it is. Army of the Dead has their intro with Richard Cheese doing an Elvis Presley song, which fits so well. I think it's Viva Las Vegas. I forget off the top of my head there, but I think it's Viva Las Vegas. But in the original Dawn of the Dead, like, almost, like, not the whole movie, but there's a good chunk of that film that's just about these characters being so excited to have access to anything that's in this mall and taking advantage of all the luxuries that are in there. Whereas in the reimagining here in Zack Snyder's film, it's relegated to a song. Outside of that one song, there's really no kind of there's no convincing here that, oh man, life is great, we're gonna live in this mall, sweet, things are so good right now. No, these characters understand that life is still incredibly fucked, and living in a mall offers nothing in the long term, like quality of life. And I love that difference there. We get some other fun connections to the original. For example, Ving Rhames' character Ken is obviously supposed to be a stand-in for Ken Forehe's Peter in the original film, which I'm positive that Ving Rhames was named Ken because Ken Forehe's name is Ken. He's also in the film, makes a cameo as a preacher, trying to explain why this is going on. As well, Roger, played by Scott Ranger, I believe is how you pronounce his name there, also makes a cameo appearance as a general in the film as well, too. So we get some really, really good connections to the original Dawn in this remake as well, too. Now, past that, I mean, the storylines for all the characters, as I mentioned before, is about redemption, showing what are all these characters going to be able to do for themselves to make up for some of them the biggest pieces of shit that they've been. Case in point, CJ, who's played by Michael Kelly, so good in this role. Y'all might remember him from House of Cards. And that's it for a lot of these characters. A lot of these characters have lost someone. They've been lazy. They're just, they're not being the best person they can be. And this film really, really leans into the idea that all those characters are looking for redemption of some sort. And a lot of them do end up finding it. Now, in terms of action pieces, there are definitely more in here, and definitely ones that are way more high tension than what Army of the Dead has at stake. And keep in mind, that's one of the downfalls of Army of the Dead, is that with everything going on, and a pending nuclear strike as well too, it never feels like there's any urgency in that movie. Dawn of the Dead absolutely feels urgent, because with every scene, every action scene that's going on, in the back of your mind, you can't stop thinking, this is when the zombies get in. This is when somebody fucks up and the zombies take over the mall at that point. There's urgency throughout the entire movie. And one of the best sequences in a zombie film I've seen is when they go to make the rescue attempt of Andy, the owner of the gun shop. And then I think it's Nicole, played by Lindy Booth from the famous Jet Jackson, when she goes to rescue her dog Chips from Andy's gun store. Basically, from the start of that scene to the end of the movie is like one of the most gripping zombie action sequences in film, I honestly believe. Like, just from getting to the gun shop and getting Nicole back, and then having to escape the mall because everything goes wrong, to finally getting to the docks and certain characters not making it, to then the end of Dawn of the Dead, which is still so fucking good. That's when we get the actual down with the sickness. That last 25 minutes or so is incredible. Zack Snyder, you can't go wrong when it comes to him in action, I fully believe. So I don't give a fuck what any of y'all say about Justice League or Batman vs. Superman. The man knows how to do action well. Get over it. You have to accept that at some point. Dawn of the Dead's an incredible film, and the great thing is that it's a remake, it's a reimagining, it's a reboot, whatever you want to call it, that still shows that it can exist alongside the original film. Kind of like Fright Night in a way, to where the Fright Night remake is amazing as well too, but you can enjoy the remake along with the original because they're both really, really good films. Definitely something y'all are going to want to check out. It's pretty much the defining zombie film of the new millennium, I feel. I don't think there's been another zombie film that's come close to what Dawn of the Dead has done for the new millennium, for sure. Definitely something y'all are going to want to check out. And that's going to do it for us, everybody. We are going into our watch party here. It's going to be starting at 9:15 p.m. Again, it's Wednesday, May 26th. And if you go to our Facebook page, you can find the link for that watch party, because we are watching Army of the Dead. Folks, Also, make sure to check out other episodes of the show. You can see the links going up right now. Next week we are talking A Quiet Place. Yes, the first Quiet Place movie in anticipation of part 2 that is coming out here. We're going to watch that in the watch party as well. And then the following week, we got A Quiet Place part 2 and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. So get subscribed to the YouTube page and the Facebook group. But that's my time, y'all. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.